Welcome back to the deep dive. We've got a really fascinating set of sources today, all from a deep dive into a YouTube transcript that you sent us. And it forces you to look at things like limitation, boredom, and even self-acceptance in a radically new light.
It really does. This
Yeah.
one is less about changing what you see and more about, changing how you choose to see it.
So what's our mission with this one?
I think our mission is pretty critical. We need to unpack the difference between finding things boring, or sumaranai, and finding them wonderful, suteki. And maybe even more important, we're going to try and uncover the reason why, according to this source, we actually chose to come here, into this limited world.
That's a huge claim right there, that the very things we complain about might be what we signed up for. So let's start where the source does, with a pretty pointed question.
Yeah, it asks you directly, do you excel at finding the boring, or do you excel at finding the wonderful in your life?
I love that framing. It's not about the world, it's about your skill level.
Exactly. The source just assumes that every single person has the ability to find both. So if your life feels, I don't know, a bit dull right now, it's just because your skill for discovering the boring is more developed. You've been practicing. You've been practicing.
Yeah.
You've become, as the source puts it, a master finder of boring things. Sumaranai Mado Hakan Meijin.
It reframes the problem so perfectly. It's not a state of being, it's a skill I've been diligently honing. So why? Why do we get so good at finding the boring? This is where the ego comes in, the jiga ishiki.
That's the engine. According to this material, the ego operates from one single core premise.
And then that is.
I'm still not good enough. That's its entire belief system, its foundation.
So the ego isn't evil, it's more like a bias lawyer, just constantly trying to prove that its client you is fundamentally lacking.
That is a perfect analogy. Because it holds that belief, it's constantly driven to find proof. It tries to logically justify why you're insufficient by searching for flaws, not just in yourself, but everywhere.
In other people, in your job, your circumstance.
Everywhere. This hunt for the proof of lack is its primary function. It's a completely self-reinforcing closed loop.
Okay, but hang on. If I accept that, doesn't that take away the motivation for, genuine self-improvement? How do I know if I'm just procrastinating versus being trapped by this inner script?
That is a critical question. And the source addresses it by immediately talking about the nature of reality itself. It says that in our 3D world, the Sanjikan Sekai, duality isn't just a feature, it's the basic operating system.
It's a structural requirement for being here.
Precisely. Wonderful things and boring things, they exist as an inseparable pair. An itai. One generates the other. The very existence of wonderful depends on the possibility of boring. If one disappears,
The other has to disappear too. It's like a coin with only one side. It just can't
it
exist.
just can't. And that just completely upends the whole goal of, achieving 100% bliss.
It makes it impossible in this realm.
It does. It redefines what success even means here. If duality is a constant, if the coin always has two sides, then the only thing you can control is where you point the spotlight of your attention.
Which brings us directly to choice. Since the structure of reality is fixed, our only real power is where we focus our consciousness.
That's the big realization. The source is very clear. Whether the world seems wonderful or not is not determined by your external environment. It is only determined by where you choose to focus. It's purely an internal choice.
But that's not our instinct, is it? When we feel bored, we look outside. We want progress, Shimpo, want to change the job, the city, the relationship.
And that's the external trap. The source warns that seeking external change only leads to finding new boring things in the new place.
Because you take your internal lens with you.
You take the whole mechanism with you. And this new reality you've created is just described as a phantom image, a genii.
So you're just swapping one set for another in your own personal movie?
Exactly. And this gets really deep when you apply it to people. The source makes this radical claim that the people who don't understand you, say a frustrating family member, they only exist inside your heart, the kokoro no uchigawa.
Wow. So they aren't real antagonists, they're just reflections of an internal script I'm running? That is a tough pill to swallow.
It is. It's very difficult.
Yeah.
But the source insists they are phantom images projected onto your personal screen. If you carry the deep belief that you're fundamentally misunderstood, you need people in your life to play that role. You cast them in that part.
To give you that external proof for your internal premise.
You got it.
Okay, so let's walk into the trap that so much modern self-help seems to fall into. If the ego's in charge and external fixes are an illusion, what happens when we just try to force ourselves to be positive?
That's a huge philosophical danger. according to this material. Trying to force a non-ego thought system onto an ego-driven mind it's an act of self-violence.
Because you're telling the part of you that believes it's not good enough that it must immediately be perfect.
Yes. And the analogy it uses is so vivid. It's like being fitted with a mandatory training harness, or kisei deki ni kata ni hame,
A forced effort.
a forced effort that leads to immense suffering. You lose your sense of self because you're rejecting who you actually feel you are. And that creates this ungrounded feeling, this fuwa shida kanji. You're just floating, disconnected, because you're trying to live in a reality you don't actually believe in.
So, if fixing the outside world doesn't work and forcing a mental change just causes this spiritual whiplash, the problem must be deeper. We must be missing the whole point of why we're even here. Which brings us to the purpose of limitation itself.
This is where it gets really profound. The source challenges our most deeply held moral values. Even ideas we think are good, like it's wrong to judge others.
How can that be a trap?
Because when you judge yourself for judging, you just reinforce the ego's main belief. I am currently bad. I am not okay.
So it weaponizes your own moral code against you. The act of trying to be good proves to yourself that you're inherently bad.
Precisely. The real shift happens when you stop judging the judging. Once you remove that layer of self-condemnation, you can finally ask the big question about why we exist here at all.
And this is the stunning claim at the center of it all. We willingly came here. We descended from a realm of infinite freedom, the Mufuji no Mugen, no Richiki, into this limited world for a reason.
Yes, we came here to experience things that were completely and utterly impossible in a perfect, limitless realm. Think about it. If you exist in a state of absolute perfection, where everything you want appears instantly, you can never experience the lack of it.
So the experience we actually wanted wasn't freedom, it was the opposite. It was limitation itself, Fujiyusa.
That's the claim. We didn't come here to find freedom. We came here to feel what it's like not to have it.
To feel things not going our way. That impatient feeling.
That impatient feeling, yes, the jiretai furingu, the struggle, the waiting, the frustration. That, the source says, is the specific 5-star experience we booked.
That completely reframes suffering. If I'm feeling limited or impatient, I'm not failing. I'm actually succeeding at having the very experience I chose.
And that redefines your entire job while you're here. Your purpose is not to fix or improve or transform anything. It's simply to fully experience and feel these difficult feelings without rejecting or loathing them. Imikiro koto nashi ni.
You don't have to change the feeling. You just have to fully feel it.
The source gives you a very simple job description. Your only role is to feel. Your only must is to experience and feel what is currently there. The moment you stop fighting the limitation, you stop fighting the reason you're here.
Which leads us to the final part, to unconditional acceptance. If our only job is to feel, what does that say about our inherent worth?
It says your worth is non-negotiable. It's inherent. You are a creator, a sutsuo mono desu, and you do not need to blame or judge or transform yourself. Heinyū shinakute too. All that pressure to change comes from the ego's flawed premise of lack.
And the source offers this incredibly comforting idea of unconditional forgiveness from our deeper essence, which it calls the source, or Minamoto.
This premise it's revolutionary because it just bypasses all your efforts. It says, it's okay if you can't forgive yourself, you are already forgiven, which is why you exist on this earth.
Wow.
Your deeper essence, your source, already sees your existence as brilliant, as subarashi. Your being here is the ultimate proof of acceptance, no matter what your surface-level ego thinks is wrong with you.
So even if my conscious mind decides I'm worthless, the source's permission for me to exist is a more powerful reality.
It's the reality that sustains you. And accepting that current imperfect self is where creation begins. When you stop judging yourself and just shine the light of non-judgment on how you are right now, that light becomes the material, the sozai, for everything you create.
So what's the only action required then, if we don't need to fix ourselves or the world?
The only must is to accept, hold, and unconditionally love the self that is here right now, without conditions. You can't say, I will love myself and achieve fusion with the source Minamoto to no Yugu after I stop being so good at finding boring things.
The moment you add a condition, you're right back in the ego's game. You're trying to earn the love that's already a given.
That's exactly it. This isn't an intellectual puzzle. It's a state of being you surrender to. You're already perfect, already forgiven, and your existence here, feeling the exact limitations you came for, is the proof.
This has been quite a journey. We started with boredom as just a developed skill.
Right. Driven by the ego's need for proof that it's lacking.
Then we saw that changing the outside is pointless because the 3D world is built on duality. It needs both the wonderful and the boring.
And then that huge pivot. Realizing that the limitation, the Fujiusa, was the whole point of the trip. Our only job is to feel what's here, without judgment.
And to rest in the reality that your existence itself is proof of your worth. So what does this all mean for you listening today? If we take this seriously, it means the most negative thoughts your ego can come up with, even "I am worthless," are fundamentally weaker than the unconditional acceptance from the source that allows you to be alive right now.
Which leaves you with a really important question to carry with you. If your conscious thoughts aren't powerful enough to stop you from existing, what other negative thoughts are you holding on to? About your career, your relationships, your potential, that are actually powerless against your underlying state of being? What would it feel like to truly operate from the premise that you are already perfect, simply because you are here?
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time.